trade deadline. We're going to break it all down in this episode of Rangers Digest, but before we do that, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. About 74% of you who watch these videos are not actually subscribed to the channel, so if you want to stay up to date with everything New York Rangers, it's free. Hit that subscribe button. You get to stay up to date with everything New York Rangers. Now, the Rangers made some very interesting moves over the course of the last 24 hours ahead of their game tonight, and that is, of course, calling up Drury from the Hartford Wolfpack and sending down, and we're really going to get into this part in this episode, is sending down Berard, and he's been assigned to the Hartford Wolfpack. A little bit of a weird move. We'll get into some fan reaction and maybe the reason as to why it happened, and we're going to get into this article that, Berard was sent down to the Hartford Wolfpack, and there's many reasons as to why, and I think some of them could include a trade and having more center depth ahead of their next game, obviously, but the fan reaction is not good to having Berard sent down, and honestly, I love Berard, and I think he'll be right back up with the team, but I think there's a reason for not only this call-up from Drury, obviously, from the Hartford Wolfpack, but obviously sending down Berard. And this is from Sean Avery's burner account, which is an hilarious username. Wow, this has to be the most idiotic thing I've seen out of this organization. Now, are we sure about that? We've seen some things, but Berard has probably been the most consistent and extra effort player on this roster since his call-up. Absolutely pathetic. No Chytil or Berard on the bottom six is a recipe for disaster. Now, while I do agree with some things he says, this is definitely not the most idiotic thing this organization has ever done or even arguably done in the last 6 weeks. And Berard, he has been a very consistent player for the New York Rangers. He brings the effort every night. I love everything about this player. He's showing that size does not matter at the NHL level. I love this player, and I think he's only going to get better. And not having Chytil in the lineup and Berard could spell trouble for the New York Rangers in their next game, obviously tonight. Now, I think that that's pretty interesting that they're not going to have both of them, but I think they might be okay. They're starting to play a little bit better, so we'll see how that shakes up. But again, like I mentioned in this article posted, Berard has 7 points, 3 goals, 4 assists in 19 games this season after he was recalled by the Rangers right before Thanksgiving. And, he's been with the Rangers consistently since Thanksgiving, right? Very rarely missing a game. He's obviously gotten into 19 games. And again, he has 7 points in those games, playing in the bottom 6, which I think is pretty impressive considering the way the Rangers have played since Thanksgiving. But again, the versatile forward played up and down the lineup, at times playing in the top 6, but most notably and most recently, obviously, bottom 6. He brings speed, energy, offensive production, all that good stuff. He's been a great player for the New York Rangers so far this season. Now, there's several reasons, and I do agree with some of these reasons, as to why the Rangers sent him down and called up a guy like Drury. And some of those reasons are, obviously, he did struggle on the defensive side of the puck. He is a -9 in the NHL. Again, I don't know if that's necessarily his fault or just the way that the Rangers have been playing as a team overall. Maybe the Rangers want to keep Matt Rempe on the fourth line for the foreseeable future because he's back from suspension as well, and bump Jimmy Vesey up to the third line because Jimmy Vesey at times when healthy has been really good. He can play. He's another versatile and dynamic forward where he can play a little bit higher than the fourth line as well. He can play on your third line and give you some decent minutes. So I think that's pretty interesting. Now, with Chytil out of the lineup with an upper body injury, he is progressing. He should return soon. He was on the ice recently ahead at the morning skate of the Rangers' last game. And, reportedly on the trip out west, the Rangers simply want to add a extra center on the roster, obviously with Chytil being out. So I think it's more just about, the structure of the team, the structural fit of how players fit into the lineup right now because Chytil's out. I think it's more about that than Berard being sent down or anything like that. I think Drury is obviously he will be an extra forward. He is a centerman at the end of the day if they need him to check into the lineup. But I think it's more about just, if they're going to scratch Berard in the NHL at this point because of the dynamic of the team the next little while because Chytil's out, I'd rather him play. I'd rather him be in the AHL getting reps, getting minutes in. So I think this is actually a pretty good move. I think this is fine. And I think Berard will be right back with the team very soon, probably next week as soon as Filip Chytil comes back from injury, which it sounds like it should be next week, which I think is really good. He plays 100 miles an hour out there, and that is in regards to Berard, and that is Rangers defenseman Braden Schneider. Against the Boston Bruins and one of their last wins. He's skating hard. He's physical. He's taking things to the net. and the guys love the way he plays. So it looks like he's been a fan favorite so far this season. He's clearly a favorite with his teammates. Love to see that, and he has a motor. He is a great player. I love watching him play. I've highlighted him on the channel before with video clips and what have you. He is a great player, right? He has a nose for the net. He is a smaller player, but he is showing that, he's a perfect example of playing through contact and winning board battles, how to be physical, and size does not matter. I love Berard. I think he's been fantastic so far this season. Obviously, he had something to say after he scored against Boston at MSG. It was super special. Kind of lost control of my body. Some of these guys were giving me some crap for it, but yeah, I don't know. It was super special. It was a super special feeling. Kind of everything you dream of as a kid. It was awesome. So clearly loves to be a New York Ranger, wants to be here, wants to continue to develop and become a better player. I love that attitude from him. I love everything about this player, and I think he's only going to get better. And so far what we've seen, I know on paper you could look at it and say, he only has 7 points in 19 games, but considering where he's played, the role he's played for this team, he's brought a lot to the table, not just points. And I think if he played on the second line, he'd probably put together more points. And at the end of the day, this team hasn't been playing great this season. So for everything that he's done in the NHL so far this season, I think he's been great. And I think we'll see him again shortly. I think it's just the dynamic of the team with some injuries and some guys out. And, some people are calling it, like NYR Louis, a trial run. I don't think it's that. I think we're going to see Berard back very, very soon. Obviously, Kreider and Hedl have been out. They'd probably rather Berard play, again, like I mentioned, with Hartford, get reps in, get a game in instead of being a healthy scratch in the press box because of the dynamic of the team right now. And again, the Rangers act like good players can't be on the fourth line. Now, I do think that you need to have role players throughout your lineup. You can't just have, some rookies withering away on the fourth line, only playing 8 minutes a night. They're not going to get better doing what they should be doing and what you need them to do down the road for this team in a couple years. So he is second in all rookies in points per 60 this year. So he's been great with the ice time he's been given. He's made a difference. He's been really, really good this season. So it's going to be very interesting to see, if he gets called back up shortly here when Filip Chytil gets healthy. I think that is the game plan. He's been great, and I would love to see him back in the lineup. But for now, he's going to get some reps with the Hartford Wolfpack, and it's going to be interesting to see what the Rangers do. They've been playing some decent hockey the last couple of games, the last 3 or 4 games. They've been putting together some decent games, some decent defensive performances. They went back to the 1-3-1 a little bit. So I am interested to see how it does against the Vegas Golden Knights, the NHL leading Vegas Golden Knights tonight. So it should be an interesting game. Let me know in the comments what you think of Berard being sent down. I think it's more about, the dynamic of the team, the lineup right now because of injuries. I think we'll see him back in the NHL level. He's been making an impact so far this season. So looking forward to seeing him again. And let me know what you think about the game coming up tonight against Vegas. Should be a very interesting one. And I assume we will see Igor Shesterkin back in net again. It should be a good one. Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything New York Rangers.